House Republicans just barely passed the Senate Republican budget resolution today. Sounds boring. I'm out. No! I know this sounds like a snooze fest, but you have to understand this thing the House passed today is the critical piece that unlocks a process called reconciliation. And this is what House and Senate Republicans needed to accomplish in order to get President Trump's agenda passed with zero input and a single vote from Democrats. Now, here's the thing. There is some sketchy math involved, which I'm going to show you in a second. But before I do that, the vote in the House today was 216 to 214. 3 representatives did not vote. All the Democrats voted no, and 2 Republicans also voted no. Representatives Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Victoria Spartz of Indiana. And there was some drama because this bill actually had to be pulled from the House floor last night because about a dozen or so Republicans were a hard no on it. But today, all but 2 had changed their minds, and the bill ultimately passed. So what were those Republicans' concern? To the math! So I told you last month that the House Republicans passed a totally different budget resolution. Their plan that was passed last month included $1.5 to $2 trillion in spending cuts, $4.5 trillion in tax cuts. That would include extending President Trump's 2017 tax cuts, which are expiring this year, and maybe having a little money left over to maybe deliver on a couple of campaign promises like no tax on tips or no tax on overtime, but that's to be determined. Then the House plan that they passed last month also included a $4 trillion increase to the debt ceiling. Well, the Senate looked at that and they're like, we're not passing that. And you have to have matching budget resolutions. So the Senate didn't like that idea. And over the weekend, this last weekend, the Senate passed their own budget resolution. And theirs looks very different. Theirs has, wait for it, not trillion, $4 billion in spending cuts. It uses this sort of creative math that says extending President Trump's 2017 tax cuts would actually not really impact the budget, so we're going to put a 0 here. Again, creative math. And then their version increases the debt ceiling by $5 trillion. Now, you can see that there are discrepancies between each one of these line items. And the biggest problem is right here and right here. $4 billion is like this compared to $1.5 trillion in spending cuts. And a discrepancy like this, according to those conservative Republicans in the House, that is exactly how you increase the debt and increase the deficit, by doing stuff like this. But the Senate said, we know, House Republicans, we know this number is really small. But don't worry, as we work through the reconciliation process, we're going to find other places to cut money. Just trust us on that. Well, House Republicans are like, we don't trust Senate Republicans to make the necessary cuts. And that is why last night about a dozen of them decided to vote no. That's why the bill had to be pulled, because those conservative Republicans didn't feel like they had enough assurances from the Senate to actually get $4 billion to $1.5 trillion, which is what House Republicans say is needed in order for us to not massively increase the debt. And that's still where we have a problem right now. Senate Republicans and House Republicans are really divided on how they're going to accomplish the cuts that need to happen in order to not increase the debt, especially because this is the bill that passed in the House today, not that bill. So now the hard work of crafting the actual spending bills will start. Once those spending bills are written, that's when we're going to actually find out how Republicans plan to make all these spending cuts, which programs are going to be cut, what the tax plan is actually going to look like, how much is it really going to cost, and most importantly, that's when we're going to find out how it's going to impact all of us. Once those bills are done, because Republicans control both the House and the Senate, and because they're using this reconciliation process, these spending bills only need simple majorities in the House and the Senate. This so-called big, beautiful bill will not require 60 votes in the Senate. And since Senate Republicans have 53 members, as long as they all stick together, they're going to easily be able to pass the president's agenda with only Republican votes. And they could probably even spare a few. So if you want to see how your lawmaker voted on today's House budget resolution that is now the same as the Senate one, I am going to email everything out to you tonight in my Facts HQ email, so make sure you sign yourself up.